IPR as well as is a MHRD IPR chair from Tezpur University. And he needs no introduction. He's making Hindustani by doing it. So since morning, I think some of you I was unable to keep awake. So I guarantee you, now nobody will be able to sleep even after the lunch. Yes, that is one introduction.
They're dangerous, but a huge responsibility. So, I must tell you that I'm extremely pleased here. That is because from the day this program was conceived, I've been a part of this particular program from the day the idea was, and from the first time that the proposal for this was written, I was one of the authors of the proposal. Okay? And I'm very proud, extremely proud, that people like Yashwant and others have carried on, and Sangeeta and others have carried on this program with such phenomenal amount of dedication. You'll be surprised if I tell you that this is the only place in the world. Okay, if I tell you that this is the only place in the world where such a program is conducted, there is no other government. There is no other government in the world that finances such a program. Nowhere in the world. You can go and search, you will not find it. In fact, last month, I was both in the United States as well as in Europe, and I was telling them about this program, and everybody was stunned. Day before yesterday when I called you, the lady who was sitting next to me was the Professor Emeritus from Oxford University. Okay? He was a very eminent economist. Okay? She was sitting and traveling with me in the car when I called you up and I told her about this program. She was stunned. She said, "Oh, is it so? I said, I'm coming back on Monday. Why don't you come in?" She's gone back yesterday. But she would have come today just to meet me. Okay? She's such an eminent economist from Oxford University that from the next month onwards, in the economics department of Oxford University, the photograph will be put up in the archival part. She's like a very well-known economist. I was lecturing in Delhi for Saturday. So after doing the lecturing on Saturday, I had to go back to Bombay on Sunday, and I'm back here. Yes, I'll go back again. Now, coming back to this entire subject, okay? It's an interesting subject on intellectual property. Now, you've heard lots of things about this particular subject from different people in different ways. Interestingly enough, when I started my career, I'm sure many of you or most of you are not born. Okay, even when I completed my PhD. Okay, I completed my PhD in 1976. So I don't know how many of you were born by then. Okay, so having completed my PhD from IPR in 1976 in very esoteric subjects of looking at magnetic instabilities in solids, looking at quantum mechanics and theoretical stuff, and all those sort of things. Then took the standard circuit, went abroad like everybody does. My wife is a nuclear physicist. She did a PhD also in 76, a few months before I did. So she beat me. And both of us went abroad for our postdoc. Came back, both of us joined BRC. I then left BRC after 1 year. Okay, we came back in 81. So I left BRC in 81 and I joined industry. My wife continued in BRC. Okay. Now the interesting part was, when I joined industry, I joined Hindustan. And 1981, joining a company coming from hi-fi academics was an unknown feature. So people said you're stupid. Okay. But fair enough. That's what people felt. I didn't know what I was in for, but I joined research in industry. Okay. Not knowing what I would be doing for my future. Now, in research, in industry, it was interesting that those days, way back, a company like Hindustan Lever had 250 scientists in Mumbai. How many of you are from Mumbai, sir? There's a place called Andheri where the research center was. Now if you go past that, there's a huge building. That was not there before. It was a nice little, very beautiful gardens and wooded place and whatnot. And that's what I joined. Then I went off to England again. I was working for Unilever in England, came back, and I was in research for the first 7 years of my career. The reason I'm telling you this is to give you a perspective. Okay? And then I said, what was I doing for those 7 years? I was developing something based on science and pushing it to the factories, pushing it to industry to make money. So that was one side of the story. I wanted to see how does industry pull research and make money. So then I wanted to sit on that side of the table, right? So then I said, okay, I want to manufacture. So overnight, literally overnight, okay, after 7 years overnight, I became the general factory manager and running a factory. From research, taking test tubes to running factories. Running factories is a huge effort. So running a factory out there, when you're running factory, you're not only bringing technology, you're managing people, you're managing money, you're managing everything. Okay? So you overall start managing things. So then you now become selective in what you're pulling from R&D and converting into output money, millions of dollars. Okay? So that is the training that you went through. And as I was doing that, I realized way back in 1990, I realized that intellectual property rights are very, very important. Till then I probably didn't realize how important intellectual property rights was in the marketplace. That the entire warfare in the marketplace is all going to be about knowledge. Okay? Not just the knowledge you generate, but the knowledge you generate and convert into useful knowledge. And once you convert it into useful knowledge, what is, how do you take advantage of it? You have invested. How do you take advantage of it? Now to take advantage of that, one of those tools is intellectual property. There are many other tools. One of the tools, other tools have to get integrated, which means that you need to look at this subject called intellectual property rights in a very integrated manner, not in an isolated manner. Therefore, it is not a subject of isolated law. It is actually law as it speaks in the marketplace. So the question is, how do you make this correlation between what is given to you by law and how you operate in the marketplace? And in between these two is your R&D, business strategy, and a whole bunch of things that go with it. So how do you bring this all together? Right? So it's a tremendous job to bring all that together in an integrated manner. That's what I realized. And I wouldn't have realized this unless I'd been a scientist to start with and then running the other thing from the other side. Then realize that you need to really take this up and look at it as a whole. And when I did that, I said, look, therefore I must now move into intellectual property rights. Very interesting. At a pretty advanced age, I moved into IP. And everybody again said, you're stupid. Okay, so there are second times to move. So I moved into IP. I went back to England, got myself trained formally, came back, I became a patent agent here, I started practicing, and then set up in Hindustan Lever and Unilever the entire IP management system. As we did that, after some time, realized that the world is going to be heavily interconnected. This is around the mid-90s now. Okay? Because the world is going to be heavily interconnected through IT and other means. And the moment the world gets connected by IT and other means, one thing is going to become very important. That importance is that if somebody gets into your computer system, you'll be able to access anything. Right? Today you hear cyber security and whatnot and all that, right? We thought about all these in 91, 92. And then we started a worldwide program within the Unilever world, or what was known as information security. Then I took into my fold not only intellectual property rights, but also information security. So I had a team of very bright young people in IT who then were doing all that. I was managing that. So one was IPR, then was information security. It was very important. Now when that was going on for a couple of years, then we thought it very important that what are we doing? We are basically managing knowledge. So therefore the concept of knowledge management became very important. And therefore we started a whole thing holistically looking at knowledge management. Okay? As a concept. So we said we need to manage knowledge. After all, what is intellectual property rights? It's all about knowledge. So if it's all about knowledge, how do you manage knowledge? How do you protect knowledge? How do you share knowledge? How to create knowledge? How do you make money out of knowledge? Everything is all about knowledge. So we started a massive program on knowledge management. That is how we looked at knowledge management. And once that was being done, did for a few years, and then I moved out of that, gave it to everybody else. And I was looking at it from this side, and then I was managing business. Okay? Corporate strategy. Then I became the head of corporate strategy. I was then looking at corporate strategy, using all these as tools of corporate strategy. Having done that for quite some time then, and in 2001, that's exactly 20 years after 1981, okay, after working for 20 years in industry, I decided to move out of industry. Started my own company out there. The name of that company is Vision IPR. That's what I did, and I also got into teaching at that point. Okay, so the whole idea was to look at these things in a very holistic way. And very interestingly enough, that when I was looking at these, I created this slide and I developed on it further later. But I created this slide way back in 2001. Okay. And interestingly enough, if you hold this knowledge in your hand like this, like an umbrella, you have these little spokes. So what do we do with knowledge? We access knowledge. Right? Okay, we do that. We read, we study, we understand, we also adapt knowledge. Correct? Sorry? You go ahead. Absolutely. You also create your own. Please be interactive. Huh? This is not a one way. So whenever you want to bring in, please bring in. If you have any doubts, raise it. You know, we want to make it a very, very interactive session of that type. And you are absolutely correct. After some time we start creating knowledge. Therefore, adapting knowledge and creating knowledge, there is a difference. Correct? Very important. That you picked up immediately. But between adaptation and creation, there is a difference. Then we apply knowledge. Correct? So adapting is one part, creating is another part, applying is yet another part. It's another dimension of knowledge. Very important. Then we share knowledge. We not only share knowledge, but we exchange knowledge. I give you some knowledge, you give me some knowledge. So what do we do then? We barter. Now when you bartering knowledge, okay, also sometimes you trade with knowledge. Education system also is trading with knowledge. You pay fees for what you pay. Okay, not only that, but very interestingly, in the global scenario, okay, when we exchange technology or I give you some technology and you take something out there, I trade. We will do bits and pieces of that. But I want you to think about it holistically. I don't want you to just get into little boxes right on day one. Okay? One of the dangers of our education system is we put people in boxes. Okay? Absolutely. No, first of all, don't have a box. So the question out of box does not come. So don't have a box. Right? Now people say mindset, but why set your mind? There's no question of mindset. Have mind, but not mindset. See, people say, oh, you have your mindset. But why did you set your mind to start with? Have a mind. Don't set it. Okay? And I'm using the word set in two ways. I want you to rise with your mind. Don't set it. Okay? So, very important. So, you may call it mind rise, not mindset. So, train. And very interestingly, several times and very often, you even hold back something. We'll touch that later and see how this comes from. And therefore, in this particular scenario, what you do with knowledge, okay, is a very important way in which we live. So this is an area, and therefore I'm saying it's very important to understand the dynamics in the knowledge space. It's a dynamic process. Why is it a dynamic process? Why is it a dynamic process? Absolutely. Knowledge is coming in constantly from all sources, all the time. So if that's happening all the time, then it's a dynamic process, which means that if you stop at any stage, you're gone. You're gone. So very important that even, I will tell you, at my age, by now you must have already probably more or less guessed what my age is. Okay? I'm sort of, my daughter tells me, you're archaic. You belong to morning and okay? My daughter tells me you belong to morning and that generation. Okay? But interestingly, even though you belong to that generation, have you kept up to modern times? Very important. You need to keep up to modern times. You need to go every day. Okay? So important part is when you are doing that, a very important aspect that comes in the word trade. Now, if you want to trade with knowledge, can any one of you tell me what is a very important aspect for trading with knowledge? Sorry? Absolutely. Value. So how do you put a value on knowledge? 5 rupees, 25 rupees, 35 rupees, 150 rupees, $10 billion. Huh? But suppose that knowledge is not being used today, then the value is zero. So how will you now trade it? Precisely, but how do you come to the potential? So necessity may come 20
This is
years.
just coming from the office. Huh?
So necessity may come 20 years down the line. So how do you come to that concept? See, interestingly, if you buy a car, I'm just using the word car, you can buy a house, for that money you can take that water bottle. Okay? Or will be good. Let's take a car to start. The moment you have booked the car and that fellow has made the invoice, or let's take a furniture, you want to buy a sofa or a chair or a bed, right? The moment that bill has been made, let's say the cost of that bed is 1,000 rupees. You know, moment the bill is made, what becomes the value of that bed? Huh? It depreciates. How much does it depreciate? 10%. Right? That means you have not even taken that bed out of the shop. What has happened to the value of the bed? It's gone down by 10%. The moment you buy a laptop today, moment that bill has been made, you know what happens to the value of that laptop? It depreciated by 25%. Gone. Now, you say, what to do with knowledge now? Knowledge का क्या हिसाब है? Very important. How do you put a value on knowledge?
It needs to be updated.
Yes, it needs to be updated, you're right. But the point is that I created some knowledge today. What is the value you put on it?
But protecting that is by law.
Sorry?
By protecting it by law.
But even if I didn't
Make
protect
it
it,
exclusive to yourself.
even if I didn't protect it, what is the value of that knowledge?
Demand of that.
But nobody knows about it so far. Only I know. Yes, but it important. But the point is, I put a number.
It will be dependent upon applicability of it. Novelty of it.
Exactly so, which means that now you can see that when I have certain knowledge, some knowledge, I have to go beyond and see what are the various options with that knowledge. Number one, what all it can do. Two, and possibly, what is going to be the life of that knowledge? Very good. The demand to put a value on knowledge, the demand is a lot more than what you can do with a sofa or a computer.
So the knowledge depreciation takes place after some time. That time you need to judge.
Yes, but why depreciation? Need to appreciate.
Depending on the use case.
See, today something is not being used, tomorrow people start using, boom, it goes up. So knowledge is something which is very interesting. So she's saying knowledge has no lifetime. Possibly, certain type, maybe. For example, something like yoga. Knowledge doesn't have a lifetime. It's your life, my life, and many other lives. You don't know. So it's very interesting, isn't it? Yeah, but those are the mechanisms. I'm not talking about mechanism. I'm talking about a value. So therefore, when I come to give you some knowledge, I say, now give me in return so much. I put a value to that knowledge. So these are the issues that we have to think about when we are talking about the knowledge. So the first part of the story is how do I come about in recognizing knowledge, number one, and then possibly, I'm saying possibly find out what I will do with the knowledge or what the potential of that particular knowledge, what could be the lifetime of that particular knowledge, how would it pan out over the years, and possibly put down a value if at all it is possible. Okay? I'm not saying it is always possible, but you can see. So that is the first part that I wanted you to think, and you will say, okay, we thought we were learning intellectual property right from you, okay, and you are telling us all about knowledge, but knowledge is knowledge. Okay, but I want you, what I like to do always is open up your minds totally first. Okay, therefore I do not like textbookish approaches. Okay, when I lecture to my students out there, I like them to come with completely an open mind. Unbiased, open mind, okay, without pre-coloration of your mind. Okay? I'm calling it pre-coloration. There's no such word, huh? Nor have I used this word ever before. You people are already experts. So now the question comes in the marketplace. Very important is why, what makes some goods or services sell more than others? There could be hundreds of reasons. I've just put on a few. You may like it because it is decorative. Somebody else may say, no, it functions better. Somebody will no, cost is better. You know, I love it, but I can't buy it. It's not affordable. But this one, yes, it fits into my pocket, no problem. Quality, availability, standards, appeal, trends, bunch of things. There are many reasons why something sells more than others. Correct? So the whole issue of all this is that we are looking at a very complex process of how the human mind works. Very interesting, this whole concept, I'll come to that, I'll touch it a bit later. But the interesting therefore is what are we doing in our regular activities? That when we are involved into something, we are doing some creation of value. Now the word value does not mean money only here. Please don't mistake the word value just only for money. Value. So if you look at the dictionary meaning of value, you add value. And mind you, if societies have to progress, how do societies progress? Because from time to time, as far as the society is concerned, it is constantly adding value. Yes. It is amending, changing the value. Evolving. It evolves. Sometimes in a predetermined way, sometimes not so well determined. Okay? Something comes up by accident. So you have both. So it's a value creation. And because of value creation, the next step would be how do you generate wealth? Again, the word wealth, please don't misunderstand with, going by 1,000, becoming 10,000, 20,000. That's one aspect. Wealth could be wealth of knowledge. Very important. And then, very important, how do you realize the wealth? Simply having wealth doesn't make any sense. How do you realize the wealth?
So maybe in many terms.
Sorry? Yes, why not? That's a way of that realizing wealth. Somebody was saying something.
Monetary terms as well as some non-other value.
Absolutely. So the question that comes about, we are talking about wealth realization, and this is a very important part. How do you realize the wealth? Unless you realize it, that wealth, it just remains potential. So generation of wealth, it's like, in a sense, I buy a lot of gold jewelry and keep it in the locker. I never put it on. Why? Because I'm afraid that when I go on the street, somebody will put it on. Which is not unknown in street of Bombay. Every day it's happening. Right? You come in a motorbike and snatch it off. And so what do? I buy that gold jewelry but never put it on. I put it in the locker. And then I say, very interesting, phenomenal. So, to do that, but did you realize it? Well, probably not. Sure. Yeah, but then what do you do? Just keep it. And it will be kept forever. So then what will happen? Then what do you do with it if you don't sell it? So, you are right, but what did you do? So it has been kept for generations together in the locker. So the wealth is lost. Now she is saying, take a loan against it. Which is nowadays happening. See, you have started now looking at different options. I wanted you to tell me that. When I said I knock it out. See, now you are thinking about it. Okay? You say, no, I don't just knock it. Okay? I unlock it in a different way. I will not put it on. I am realizing. See, the word is of realizing. You have realized that you are realizing. See, very interesting, isn't it? So this is the way knowledge also goes. If you lock the knowledge and keep, no big deal. So this is a very important part that you need to look at. Okay? So start thinking in those terms. And when you think about this subject from this point of view, your perspective changes. Then you don't go into the bookish definitions of things.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, then, you are saying that I have kept in locker. Then I thought that I should take it. Then I have to pay back the loan with additional amount of money. Then how the wealth is realized in that case?
Excellent question. Will somebody answer to her?
Yeah, we can realize that the loan that we get in a place, which will give us better returns.
We can do the market
That's
and
one
get
answer.
better results.
So that is one answer. One answer is, I take that loan, I invest it somewhere else, I get a better return, I return it. That's one way of doing it.
Profit itself.
That's one way of doing it, right? What could be another way? What could be another way? There is an immediate need. Maybe I need a house. I don't have money to buy the house. Correct? I put this and I get a house. I wanted to live. I don't have a place to live. I get today a place to live. That itself is adding value to me. So the whole process by which all this can happen. And we'll touch some of these things. And interestingly enough, we'll take some of these things today itself during the session. Okay? How all these are used and how these become an added value. So these 3, many times people tell me, oh please give me your slides. I said I can give you, but the slides are dead. Yeah. What goes into the slides is a lot more than what is just written. So 3 statements there are dead statements on their own. Unless you would like it to. Right? So that is, yes.
Can you correlate this slide with data bank?
Yes, you're right.
And they generated one.
Absolutely. Not only that. Very interestingly, that point that you make just now. Very, very interesting. How many of you have heard about Michael Jackson? All of you. Fantastic. enough, Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson lived a life of luxury. You know how he lived a life of luxury? So many ranches, so many of this, so many of that. He pledged his entire set of copyright and had all these ranches and everything. He died a sad death, that's a separate issue. We are not commenting on that. But he lived a life of luxury simply based on pledging the copyright of all his songs. And the banks were proud to give. Recent case which is happening in India, which is the recent case? Malia. Banks went all out, "Arey, Mr. Malia, take money." They all were proud. Whether he will return or not is a separate issue. Kingfisher brand. Kingfisher brand, amazing. Everybody rushed to give him money. Today everybody is screaming. Why? And I'll touch that later. Not about VML here. That is a separate issue. But what are the issues of pledging something like that? These are issues, live issues of intellectual property rights, as you see. Okay? So we look at these aspects as we go along, but I want you to think that we are talking about a subject. It's interesting when I move into this subject. Very interesting. I will tell you the names of those people. But in 1989, I went and met 3 very important people in the world. Okay, and I asked them a question. I said, "Sir, please tell me which is that subject which will never grow old?" Chiranjeevi. Okay, not the film star. So Chiranjeevi. And very interesting, in 1989, some of these thought leaders told me that 3 subjects will never grow old. One, they told me that knowledge systems will never grow old. Protection of knowledge will never grow old. And stealing of knowledge will never grow old. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't want to throw big names at you, but these are people who are great thought leaders. You know all the names, but I don't want to tell you these names. Of these very, very great people who told me. And that is what excited me, even at a very advanced stage, to go into the intellectual property rights and knowledge systems. That's what I moved into. So everybody, I was supposed to then join the board of companies and whatnot, but then I started literally going to the kindergarten in this particular field. Okay, and start from the kindergarten. Okay. Learning how to draw. Now, important part therefore is, and all this game, as we play along. So how do you do it? Very important. And therefore, what do you need to do? Therefore comes in, how do you evolve? You use the word evolve. How do you evolve? You have to innovate. You have to innovate. You have to create. You have to adapt in an intelligent way. Even adaptation is a form of creation. Creating totally new, of course it is. But adaptation is also a have you seen, I'm sure, I mean, I immensely enjoyed seeing those days, that when we had our first daughter, okay, and it was very interesting to see how she was learning by herself to stand. So all of you, with your children.
That's my present.
Huh?
That's my present these days.
Yeah.
7 months.
There you are. So just about very interestingly, try to stand, hold, stand, okay, and then again tries to stand. Very interesting. Seeing a little baby trying to stand is one of the most interesting events that you will see. I've actually photographed my daughter when she stood for the first time. Okay, I was actually going all over with the camera in those days. Okay, and I actually photographed her on the day, that moment she stood on her, that moment I have captured. Okay. So it's really interesting because the baby is innovating. So much so the baby also innovates to know exactly who is going to react which way. Correct? Very, very intelligent. So you can see the baby is all the time assessing, but how he or she is going to react to it. It's very interesting. If I get time, I will show you a video of my, now one of my grandsons. There are 3 grandsons, but one of our grandsons. Interestingly, when our daughter was coming back from the hospital on the second day, heard from the, she asked the doctor, we have a Labrador which is this big, a 9-year-old Labrador, black. Okay. And the daughter asked the doctor, doctor, when can I take this little one to the dog? Interestingly enough, at Lilavati hospital, the doctor said, tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning, place this little child before the dog. Let the dog lick this baby all over. Interesting. My daughter took this huge Labrador. The Labrador actually licked this baby, top to bottom, literally. And believe it or not, this dog from that day has been babysitting this one. So you go near that baby lying on the floor, you put this one on the floor, the dog is sitting there, you try to touch that dog. Natural. Very interesting. You won't allow. This babysitting. Very interesting. And this little one now is so used to this, okay, that now he's about exactly 1 year old, okay, and you will be surprised. This fellow puts the hand, set them out, does nothing, puts the tail, the dog and this baby understand. Fantastic. It's amazing how they understand each other. On the other hand, you try and caress too much, the little baby, the dog gets upset. Why? Because then you are feeling neglected. So you do it. So they all understand each other. So innovate. This is the process of innovation. So both are innovative. Now important part, I just jump a few slides purposely, and then I want to get across to an issue where I want to come to this part very quickly, and therefore I want to ask you 2-3 questions. Very interesting that when we innovate, we have used the word innovation. When we innovate, when there is a need, you say. Now, interestingly, let's take this point one by one. In how many ways do we innovate? In how many ways does the human mind innovate? Sorry? Anything. But what is the meaning of anything? You said something. I agree. But let's not go to infinite. Let's start counting to infinity. So we say 1. By looks is 1. What do you mean by looks? So what is the innovation there? No, I don't want words. Using visual. What else? Sorry? Purpose of innovating, but what would be the purpose? Sorry? Usability. How will you give me one word on usability? I want a more operational term for all. These are our textbook terms.
Easy using.
Huh?
Easy.
Ease of using. So tell me a word which represents that. Sorry? User friendly is also too standard a term. I want something, one word. Handling. Convenience is the outcome. Utility is the effect. Problem solving is the purpose. Simplistic is an approach. Facilitating is the process. See, interesting. For every word you use, I'll give you a counter word. Okay? For every word you use, I'll give you a counter word. So tell me, one word I want for utility. Your utility is correct. Needs. Application is consequence. Consumption is what you want. New is an outcome. Innovation is the way you do it. So, one word. Let us say, when I say that I want a better, I want a better mobile. What is it that I want? That is consequential. But when I say I want the word better, when I say the word better, what do you mean by word better? Yeah, when you say improvement, what do I mean? What you're trying to impact? What are you trying to impact on the mobile when I say I want a better mobile? So, see, I'll tell you, in one word, what am I trying to impact of this mobile? I'm trying to impact the functionality. I'm trying to impact the functionality of the mobile. Right? So, that utility, purpose, all that is all encompassed in this beautiful word called functionality. Now if I tell you, then you will say which functionality? Then I will tell you that functionality, this functionality, that functionality, etc. Right? So what were you trying to impact? When I said something better or something worse? Why only better? Why not worse? Sometimes I may like the thing which is slightly lower. Yeah, why not? So what am I impacting? I'm impacting the functionality. So which means one of the ways feature could be round. I'm not talking about feature. I'm talking about functionality. Very important word. Why? Because when I want to impact the functionality of either a process or a product, functionality, okay? It could be various types, various aspects of the functionality, various features of the functionality. Features, etc. are only going to the next level, but functionality is the basic one.
So we need to innovate to change the functionality of something.
Absolutely. But when you are innovating to change the functionality, or I would not even say change, I would use the word impact the functionality. So if I want to impact the functionality, right, what do I do? Now, I want some generic answers from you. What do? You modify, of course. How do you modify? Upgrading. How do you upgrade? All that is fine, but you do something more fundamental than that. Those are all methods. That is all you will do, those are processes.
Changing the function.
When you develop, what do you do? What is the basic part when you want to impact the functionality of a product or a process? Only market research? Very important. If I tell you, all of you will, say by card. So simple. How do you value add? How do you add to the features? Very important. What we do is whenever we want to impact the functionality, in general terms now, we use methods of science and technology. We use methods of science and technology. I want something that goes faster, so I will use a better chip. That chip means I'm using methods of science and technology to develop a better chip. Right? So functionality, if I want to impact, then I will use methods of science and technology. Correct? Very generic, very basic. You will say, what is this so basic you are doing? And mind you, after a few minutes you will realize why these basic points are so important. Because most people don't appreciate these basics. And therefore they go wrong for the rest of the cases. Now, when you use methods of science and technology to impact, see my words, impact the functionality. Right? Now, if that was not there before and you did it, then what do you call it? Invention. If it was there and you found it, you call it a discovery. Now you will say, now you are going back to third standard or fourth standard. But that fourth standard or third standard knowledge is such an important part today. Most people feel that to impact, I repeat again, to impact functionality, you use methods of science and technology, and therefore, therefore you need to invent. You invent. And when you invent, the moment you hear the word invention or invent, what have you done? What have you done? You have invented a functionality and created something. Right? Using methods of science and technology. And these creations or adaptations that you have done using methods of science and technology which were not there before, which are therefore inventions, can be protected by a legal tool called patent. Very important. The word patent. The moment you hear the word patent, what must come in your mind? The word invention. The moment the word invention comes to your mind, functionality. The moment functionality comes to your mind, methods of science and technology. It's a direct correlation. Either way. So, if you hear the word patent, it is and must be linked to functionality. It is and must be linked to some method of science and technology. It is that it must have some that aspects of putting things together that it was not there before. It's another issue. Whether all inventions can be protected by patent is a separate issue, which you will study during the course. But the word patent must bring into your mind this correlation. Patent, invention, and the functionality of both processes and products. Correct? So this is the first model of the story. And you say, why did you do so much dramatic? Because you remember it. Because of the dramatic. And that's why that word patent, which is here, this word patent is of that huge value. And mind you, interestingly enough, 9 out of 10 people know the word, don't understand the meaning. They're all rattled out. Patent means, ask them in simple terms, what is patent? We fall down. We'll come to what is patent later. But you understand the word patent when you hear now or use, what it should mean. Okay? I'm not going to the legal part of it, I'll come later. But conceptually what it means. That's the first one. So that is, therefore, when we said that how does the human mind innovate? One of the ways in which human mind innovates is that it impacts functionality. I will repeat the rest now. History. Now let us come to the second way of how the human mind innovates. How does the human mind innovate? Second way. Now start thinking out of the box. No box now, no boundaries. It is boundaryless thinking now. Yeah.
An expression of creativity, like inherent nature of creativity.
Sure, but use an expression of creativity. But expression itself is a creative part. Right? So expression. What you actually were trying to mean is expression. Expression. Like I am giving you a lecture today. Okay? It is my expression. I could have easily expressed to you, patent it, da 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 da. This is this, da 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 da. I would have gone that way, right? Instead of doing that, I am expressing myself to you about this particular subject in a certain manner. This is innovation. Right? So the question that comes about is an expression. Right? So expression is another. So impacting functionality was one, expression is another one. Now the expression may have a certain impact, that's a separate issue. But expression. And these expressions which are there, either the way I'm lecturing, or we sing, or we dance, or we create a video, or we take a photograph, or whatever we do in that way, write poetry and things of that type, all those things, expressions of the human mind are protected by a tool called. So, the moment you get to the word copyright, what was coming to your mind immediately is that we are talking about expressions of the human. Okay? Very expressions. And it is the expressions of the human mind that we protect using this tool called copyright. We won't go into details of each one of the nitty-gritties today, but this is how you will go across. But I want to lay the foundations. That if the foundations are strong, then putting things in place is not big deal. If you understood this much, I was at 90% of your course is over. Then 90% of what you do is the 10% of it. Okay? So that is the second part. So that is that part. Now, what could be a third way in which you would innovate? Sorry? You increase the aesthetic appeal. So how would you increase the aesthetic appeal? You can, what do you mean by make it more decorative? Sorry? Yeah. No, but that is fine. But I want you to go a bit more into it. Because in the case of, let me throw this to you in a different way. You are right, but I want you to think in a different way. Okay? That's a standard way of putting it across. I want you to go slightly non-standard and then come to standard. It's always good to first be non-standard, then come to standard. Okay? Then you remember it. Okay? So the first part is, let me ask you a question. I'm sure all of you, okay, have at some stage gone and bought some cutlery or some crockery or cutlery. I'm sure all of you. When you went to a shop and you wanted to buy a tea set, right? This shop had hundreds of tea sets. Why did you go and pick up one as against those 100? Why did you remove the 99? Fair enough, appeal, cost effective, etc., etc. But if there were five costing the same, you then went and picked not all five, you picked up one. Why did you pick up features, something that you like? Now, correct. But now the question, let's settle that first. Let us assume that you are buying tea cups, argument. You go to crockery factory, come to you buy tea cups. How many of you have actually gone to the shop and told the shopkeeper, please pour tea in this, let me drink tea, and then I will. How many of you have done that?
In many cases, sir, where it is open to it, then we can say.
In the sense?
If
I'm asking, have you done?
sir, actually, I
yeah,
was buying
go
one class, pair of six glasses I was buying.
Yeah.
Then to test those glasses, I asked them for bottles.
Okay.
I can check the glasses.
Okay.
And thereby I came to know that one glass had defect.
Okay. So that was you were looking at where the glass had defect. But that was not why you chose. You first made the choice. I will buy this set of six.
But I chose to understand.
What I'm saying is,
Choice was my, because I was going for the check.
yeah. So she chose that it was looking good. Then she wanted to be 100% sure that there is no crack. So she said pour water. Correct? But your choice was not by pouring water. Your choice was first by looking at it. Appeal, right?
What was available at that point?
Correct. What was appeal? You couldn't have done more than that. Right? Otherwise you have to do what I do. done it. I'll show you a design which has just recently been made for me by some of the weavers that I work with in the Northeast on Muga. How many of you know what Muga is? That's the best silk in India. I work with Muga weavers. In fact, today I was supposed to be in a staff. I'm not there and I'm here because the elections came. That's why I'm here. Okay? Now I work with Muga weavers. I'll talk about that later. But the important part is that when you went and chose that, you did it irrespective of functionality. Yeah, because if the glass is the glass is the glass. Right? Glass is the glass is the glass. But if it looks like this, I will buy it. Correct? So why do you think that my wife went and bought this shirt? She liked it. I never buy my shirts. Okay? She went and bought this for me because she thought that it would be fine. Good. So she bought. Right? Now the point is, therefore, she did not see. She took it. What's your size this? Go and buy it. Right? So she didn't bother about functionality. She went to the looks of it. So when you innovate, now see the importance of the word functionality. Earlier was you were impacting functionality. Now what are you impacting? Only the shape and distinctive shape and ornamentation. Visual appearance. This shape and ornamentation. Now ornamentation doesn't mean gold, silver. Ornamentation means lines and whatnot. So ornamentation. Right? That I don't want to use the word. I don't know. So irrespective of functionality, in that class of goods, in that class of articles, you went by the distinctive shapes and ornamentation, which means somebody created that shape or distinctive ornamentation so that somebody will like it. Correct? Creating a brand etc. is a separate issue. I'm not talking about brands. Right? I'm talking about distinctive shapes and ornament irrespective of function. Which means that if you created a shape and or ornamentation that would impact functionality, that would get protected by patent. Now you understand why I was concentrating so much on functionality. Whereas if you have created a distinctive shape and ornamentation independent of the functionality, that is protected by design registration. So now when you hear the word design registration, immediately what will come into your mind? Irrespective of functionality, a distinctive shape and ornamentation that is protected is by design registration. Now you know why 90% of the course is getting over today. Rest are procedurals and details. Concepts are different. Right? Concepts are different. Now, so we have looked at functionality, we have looked at expressions, and we have looked at distinctive shapes and ornamentations irrespective of functionality. Here, now you will be able to differentiate that, well, if there are, these are the type of innovations which are inventions, which are expressions, which are distinctive shapes and ornamentations irrespective of functionality. So we have already classified 3 classes of innovation. Clear? Very in-depth. This is, I will be joking around with you, but these are very, very in-depth discussion. And you misunderstand this, you have gone for that. And 9 over 10 people misunderstand. So common. And I'll give you examples of that later. Now important part. What is another way of creation of a human being? Another creation of a human being. We have talked about 3. Expression, impacting functionality, distinctive shape ornamentation, irrespective of functionality. Right? Now let us come to the 4th one. What could be the 4th? Sorry? Don't use words. See, I don't want standard words. I want the conceptual. a very grassroots person, right? I come from the grassroots. I learned it that way. When I learned, nobody taught me. So there was no one to teach. I learned this all by literally hard work. And that's why I start with grassroots. But tell me, what is the third way? Fourth.
Utility of that.
Sorry?
Utility of that.
No, utility is not one of the functionality. Sorry? Arrangement and sequencing could be either functionality or it could be non-functionality.
Symbols and marks.
Simple
Names
and
and
so
ornamentation depending with in conjunction with the functionality.
then it will go to patent. See, distinctive shape ornamentation with functionality will go to patent. So that has gone into the patent box.
New inventions. Totally out of new inventions.
Sorry?
New inventions.
No, that could be an old invention. Correct? An old invention would be a discovery. Isn't it? So how can there be a new invention? Sorry? Different? No, I'll come to that, but tell me, I want to know the creation. What is the creation?
By combining what is already existing,
Yes.
create something, for example, making hybrids out of two different plant varieties.
Fair enough, but functional. Why would you do it? You'll get another functionality.
Implementation.
So either it will be in patent or in something, but it won't. But then you go to functionality.
So
Right?
implementation.
Sorry. Ah, lovely word. She's now coming close to it. She's loudly. She's almost come close to it. I want to tell it loudly. What symbolizes a particular. What do you mean by item? Okay. See what she said. That if you create something which symbolizes, let's stick to the word symbolize. Symbolizes, she says, some product or some activity or something. Symbolize. Don't give you a standard term. Now, for example, if I tell you, I would have a board, there's a board, but this is something to write. Okay. I will, you see this invisible writing now. Suppose I do something like this. Okay, see the little bit. This is like this part, like this. Yeah. So, see, you immediately said apple. And what would this symbolize to you? See, immediately. Now, none of you said apple as a fruit, eaten. None of you said partially eaten apple. Now you said, but you didn't say partially eaten apple. Moment I do that, you people said iPhone. Very interesting. None of you said partially eaten apple. Here, prompted partially eaten apple later. But very interesting, I must tell you, that my grandson, who is now 5 years old, when he was 3, I asked him, I drew this and asked him, what is it? He lives in London and he said, he told me, it's a pear. I told him it's an apple. Now imagine a 3-year-old brainwashed to look at this and say iPad. Does not say it's an apple. How sad. So, somebody has created. What is this creation? Creation of a symbol, right? A symbol that is used to identify a product and its origin in the course of trade. That's why it is called a trade mark. Mark used in the course of trade. A distinctive mark used in the course of trade. So somebody has created. Correct? So a distinctive mark used in the course of trade to make a correlation between a product or a service with its origin, with who is making it, who is selling it. Yeah. So it is a mark, a distinctive mark, used in the course of trade. A very important trade. Used in the course of trade to establish a correlation between that mark and a product or service together with its manufacturer or origin or distributor. From where it comes, who is making it? Sorry? Last part is to establish a correlation or to correlate a product with its manufacturer and or distributor. That is the origin. From where is the product coming? For example, when I use the, if I tell you Fair and Lovely, right? What do you conclude? Fair and Lovely? Some cream, some thing coming from Hindustan Lever, right? Hindustan Unilever, right? If I tell you Optima, then you will call it some other product. Now, interestingly enough, suppose I tell you that there is a screen and there is a triangle like this. A triangle, and then there is in the center of that, there is a line. Line. And when, before the movie starts, you see this line in that triangle, and then you see the line. Sorry? Which is, she said, he said MGM. Now, for example, sorry? सर्कल में ट्रायंगल ऐसा नहीं है वो मोमेंट वो जो लाइन है वो when the line does this twice twice वो that circle in that triangle, right? Immediately you know it is metropolitan map. Why? Because that part with the sound with that particular bit, it immediately symbolizes in the course of trade that this film is by MGM. Right? Similarly, when you're watching television and you hear the news, you see the news. Right? Simply, even if you don't see it, before that starts, the music that goes about with it. You hear the music, you will say it is NDTV, you will say it is BBC, it is CNN International, it is this, it is that. Right? So, that is the sound, the composition is also like a, it's a, you might call it, is it a mark? Can it leave a mark? No, it is a mark in your mind. Right? But then immediately when you hear it, you immediately say this is NDTV, this is CNN, this is BBC, this is India Radio, etc. Right? So, these signature tunes, they become signature tune. Why signature tune? Distinctive. The word is distinctive, not any mark. Right? So it's a creation. So people create this. Why? Because they want to dig it into your head. They actually take a drilling machine and drill it into your head. So that when you see or hear, it directs you to it. Right? Very important. So when you think about it, which one should I buy? Don't think about anything else. Think about that one. So walk into the shop, don't go right, don't go left, one pick up straight that. Yes. Absolutely. You do that particular thing and then take it to court. That's why it's called a trademark. Mark used in the course of trade. That's why it's called a trademark. So now, in this part, we have done trademark, and when you are offering services, so trademark is used for goods. When you are offering services, it becomes a service mark. Like for example, if I tell you here is a per with a dot in. See, she immediately said, I just said it's a per with a dot. She said Punjab National Bank. Right? Immediately she said Punjab National Bank. Or if I put a blue color like this and with a slit like this, she said SBI. Now see how powerful they are? Somebody created that. And you have begun to identify. Now I either showed you it's a blue color, I only did something like this, and immediately you said SBI. See how powerful it is. Right? So this is the power of creations of the human mind. And by protecting it, either with design registration or copyright or trademark or service mark or patents or a combination of all of them. How you will combine all of them, we will come to that. So certain elements of it, you will protect by patent. Certain elements of it, you protect by trademark. Certain elements of it, you protect by a design registration. Certain elements of it, you protect by copyright. So now you are coming to that how these tools of intellectual property rights can be used singly or in combination to give you a desired. I've not yet told you what is the protection. I have not yet used and told you what is the protection. But I have told you it gives a certain protection. It gives you a certain protection when you use it either singly or in combination. So your intelligence would lie in A, to create them, your means anybody. And B, which tool to use for which protection, and what combination of tools to use to protect that so that others cannot use it without your permission. As simple as that. And the whole game of intellectual property rights is all about it. I'll come to that. I've not yet come to that. I'll come to all that. I'll come. But I'm first trying to, I want you to appreciate how these things, what is the origin of it? Yes, please. Yes. Correct. It is trademark. We'll come to that part. That apple, this part, okay, this part is apple, and this will be a generic part sitting behind. The moment you say so, it comes from Apple company. I'm coming to that. So you have a trademark. Now every product that is made, each one of them can also have its own distinctive mark. So that mark combined with Apple strengthens that. Correct? So there can be two trademarks together, identifying one telling this is the product and one telling this is from that company. Correct? So this is the first part. Now when you come to service part, Punjab National Bank, what does it do? The service. They are all under service part. Effective. Yeah? Now, India did not have a service mark separately earlier. Everything was under trademark. Now we have service. That when you do the trademark part, sorry? Very good. Now CSI or institutes, etc. All these effectively would be service. Should be. Now, whether we register, we don't register, all that will come in a matter of details. When you go into whoever does the issue of trademark and service marks with you, you must go to those details there. Okay? But today, my job is to expose to you. That's the reason when I created this, when did I create this slide? I created this slide, it went down there, but this slide was created by me in 1998. That is when I wrote my first book. This went into my first book in 1998. When I was trying to when I thought, how do I explain to people that these are tools? And I have to explain to people that a screwdriver is not a hammer. Right? And a hammer is not a screwdriver. Therefore, trademark is not a patent and a patent is not a trademark. And a design registration is not a patent. But I always say that if you want me to be a good carpenter, right, then I have to learn how to use, where to use the screwdriver, where to use the saw, and where to use the hammer. And how to use them in which combination and in which sequence, as you know. Right? So it's very important. So that's why this part, IPR tools. These are all IPR tools. Many times people say IPR and talk about patents. Yes.
So the trademark include quality assurance.
Sorry, say that again.
Trademark include quality assurance.
Which one?
Quality assurance.
Sorry?
Quality assurance.
Quality assurance. Interesting. It does not include quality assurance, but it symbolizes quality assurance. What does it mean? It does not include. What does it mean? What you are saying is that when I see a trademark out there, I know that this is coming from Philips, or I know that this is coming from there. My belief is Philips is a good company. It won't cheat me. Now, that is my belief. Why? Because every time I bought a Philips product, I was happy with it. But trademark does not mean quality. It represents. But the interesting part is, now this is where I want to, since you asked this question, I want to now, before I go to other things, just elaborate a bit on what it is. And that is, that you have all heard, some of you have used the term for brand, you said brand, and I, quickly ran away from that word. Right? The moment you use brand, I simply quickly hushed away and ran away. Right? Why did I do that? And one of the things very important, if you want to be a good IPR person, your hearing skills have to be listening skills. I'll almost repeat to you, each one of you, what you said. Not just today, but 5 years ago. Very important, your listening has to be very important. Now, brand. When is a brand created? Brand is created. Trademark also is created. But how is brand created? What is a brand?
My advertising, my advertising.
The value and the
Adding new quality.
Advertising, yeah, advertising means. Interesting. A brand, how do we create a brand? Popularity.
the value and the
Value,
Quality, sir.
quality, long-term use, anybody from there? Marketing from behind. You people have been very silent, please. I've always been a backbencher in my life. So I want to ask anyone from there. That's why they are active. Why? So please tell me, what is the ideal brand for you?
Uniqueness.
Sorry?
Uniqueness.
Uniqueness. Anything
Cost effectiveness.
behind?
Quality.
Yeah, please. Quality. See now, interestingly now, all of you, by and large, seem to be zeroing on quality. Right? But how did you come to that? How did you arrive at this thing called quality?
Recognition in the mind of customer.
Consumer's mind. So how did the company enter into the consumer's mind? Interestingly, the company entered into the consumer's mind by creating a dream. It's a perception. Absolutely. It created a perception for you. Whether it is real or not is a separate issue. Right? It is a perception and you began to believe in that one. Why? Because you believe that when you took it, it gave you something you perceived of it, you were satisfied with that. It was your happiness. was not virtual, it was the happiness. You feel that this fellow said that and I felt happy. Correct? And that is what creates a brand. That happiness in the consumer creates a brand.
But sir, if after use it doesn't deliver,
Then it doesn't create a brand.
right? Then
It
even-
dies.
Even if our perception tells me that I
Precisely.
am disappointed.
So the point is that if you take the mass, not a people, good bunch of people, when you create this particular dream, people perceive this to be delivering something. And so long as most people feel it is so, then they feel, oh, do you think Ashwara uses all that? Do you think Salman Khan goes and uses all that stuff? Do you think Shah Rukh Khan uses all that stuff? Yet all of us see that Shah Rukh Khan walking with this, looking into all that. That's the way brands are created. They become brand ambassadors. Being Amitabh Bachchan uses all this. Right? You think Dhoni uses all that stuff? Virat Kohli uses all that stuff? That is because you believe that Virat Kohli comes there. Arey, Virat Kohli kya batting karta hai? Fantastic. Aadmi hai ऐसे. You believe. For example, I will
Why
give
they
you.
have chosen?
Oh, why they have chosen? Because A, that you are giving me money, and that is my value. That is my value.
Sir, when we are ambassadors of something,
Yeah.
we have to use.
That's ethics. Forget ethics. There is no ethics in it.
That's why they are jail after manifest.
No. That's a different issue. So, important part.
But sir, there is a concept.
Do we have a break in between? See, let me come to you. Let me explain to you. Very interestingly enough, I must give you this. It's not a story, it's a real stuff. I'm telling you, in 1981, when I was in Lever, I was not responsible for it. There was a very, very well-known scientist who was much senior to me. Today he is about 90. I meet him. Very brilliant man by the name of Dr. G.P. Babu. Okay? He was much senior to me, of course, by the name of Dr. G.P. Babu. In the 80s, going back to 1980s, people, the scientific community, believed, because of evidence and other things, that if this is the color of my skin, now when I said this is the color of my skin, you are perceiving this color, right? Because the light is coming, hitting on this, and then going to your eye. And then you are seeing that this is the color of my skin. I'm not talking about black and white, but this is the color. Now if this is to be made lighter, I'm not talking about black and white. If this is to be made fairer, what I have, forget the ethical aspect, come to the scientific part, only the scientific part. That if I want you to perceive me fairer, that means this light, what is coming to you today, to your eye, tomorrow, when that light comes and hits your eye, you should see this fairer. Okay? Now, so the point was that time, the scientific understanding was that there is this thing called melanin. How many of you have heard this? All of you have heard this coloring pigment called melanin. And people said that if you have more melanin in your skin, then you will be darker. If you have less melanin in your skin, you will be lighter. Dr. Mathur came and said this rubbish. Okay. Very bold to come and tell this to the scientific world. It's all rubbish. He said, look, the perception of color is not black or white. Because even among various people who have this much of melanin, Some of them are lighter, some of them are darker. So it is not the quantity of melanin in the same class of color. This is what he came with. And he stunned the world. Okay, this book was done in Andheri. I was back in the kid. Kid in the sense, just starting my career as an industrial scientist. But this was not a master. Okay? I remember him telling us all these things. So he said, no, it is not the amount of melanin therefore. Why? Because then all the people who have the same amount of melanin should have had the same color. Why are they not like that? So he actually analyzed thousands and thousands of skins. Okay, with the same within experimental error. And he said no. So he said, what is different? He said, the way the melanin is distributed in the skin is responsible for this perception, for the scattering. So the scattering of light changes if the melanin is dispersed differently. So he tested on skins of different colors with the same amount of melanin and looked at the dispersion. And he said yes. So he came with an idea. He says, if I can now in your skin redisperse your melanin, you will look fairer or darker. Right? This was the theory. And so he did some experiments. I've seen these experiments when I was in the military. They are not my experiments. I used to work in some of the fields. But I'm telling you what I've seen live.
Sir, even in camouflage, it happens in lower organisms.
Absolutely. That is where he learned. That's where he learned from. Absolutely.
They don't
Yes.
exercise, they just redistribute.
Absolutely. Now the question, how do they redistribute? Correct? That is something you're redistributing it. How do you redistribute? Now see, from an idea, he is now impacting functionality. Right? Impacting functionality. Now, how does he convert this idea into something real?
Is there something that will, if something will change the distribution of melanin?
Absolutely. Now question is, what would change the distribution of melanin on the skin? So that time, in 1980, sounds almost like a grandmother story, but that is the way it is. I'm telling you the history of melanin. The actual history, the scientific history of melanin. And interestingly, whether it is still like that, I do not know. It must be, but I'm telling you the original. When I was there when this happened. He then identified a chemical called niacinamide. Niacinamide. Some of you would have heard this term called niacinamide. So what he did was, he took niacinamide. He identified niacinamide as an agent that would redistribute melanin. So he had to prove it. So we actually imported some very, very special guinea pigs. Very special guinea pigs were imported, and these guinea pigs had very sensitive skin. They were whitish guinea pigs, not white, but grayish guinea pigs. Very sensitive skin. So on these guinea pigs, he did experiments. He actually applied niacinamide. And then, all the light scattering experiments, etc. were done. And then to cut a long story short, he then came to the whole process by saying that look, the skin which you are seeing here today, this is about 5 to 6 weeks old. We have to shed it off. So when our skin actually takes birth inside, right? There, when the skin is the new skin is getting formed, it's constantly getting formed. So when the new skin is getting formed, he said, if I redistribute the niacinamide then, and keep it continuously distributed, then when that new skin comes up, you will see it fairer.
Sir, can I ask?
Please.
Sir, whenever we go for such kind of technology which affect the naturalness of something, right? It is
excellent question. You have just come to the point when I was taking. So
Sir,
now,
it will lead to cancer of the skin.
well, very interesting, very good question. And in fact, you're right. So the point was that scientifically, he proved what he wanted to prove. Scientifically proved that if you redistribute the melanin and keep it in a redistributed state, you will look fairer. You means the skin will, the surface will look fairer. Scientifically proven. What he, as a concept, had, he proved it conceptually. Now comes the concern. Is it good?
What is the cost of that fairness?
Absolutely. What is the cost of it? That means you are playing with the natural cycle. Would it impact? Would it have a negative impact? Can you believe it if I tell you that this, to answer this question in positive or negative, 12 years of research. 12 years. The experiments were done on rats, etc. Then finally permission was taken to do on humans. It was done on humans. 12 long years so far. To come to the conclusion, no, it won't happen. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what 12 years of work. And then the permission was given for it to come to the market. That's why it hit the market around the 1990s. So it went for 12 years of work into that sort of work, and before that, another 4-5 years of research. So, but 15-16 years of work of Dr. Mathur. It's a lifetime of a scientist to create that one product. And that is the reason when it came to designing the ad, that ad was created by me. And if you look at the ad, they use it even today. That was, you'll see those few faces. Lighter. Week 1, week 2, week 2, day 1. Now you understand the basis of that week 1, week 2, week 3. Now whether they are still using niacinamide, whether they are still doing something, I do not know because I am not there. But I know that time, what happened. Whatever I am telling you. And now, so then the question came in the marketing day. What do you call such a product? So somebody came with a brilliant idea, call it fair and lovely. Forget the other, I'm not going into the ethical connotations and other things. There's a lot of debate in the country. It erupted a huge amount of debate in the country.
Yes, sir, obviously.
Absolutely.
Sir, racism is being
No, that's why I'm not touching on that. So these are issues. But what I'm telling you is to convert a scientific idea into a product, to a delivery, to creating a brand, that dream.
Sir, the media.
And interestingly enough, this is patented. This is patented. This is trademark. If you look at the cover of Fair and Lovely, it will tell you there's a copyright protection. Why? That part. Okay? So all that is there. And what it has created? It has created a brand. Why? Because people believe that if I put that, it will be, forget the ethical part of it. I'm not debating that. That creates a huge social debate. I'm not going to the social debate at the moment. But this then creates that sort of, it creates a dream. So now, from the cream, we graduated into lotions, shampoos, soaps, etc., but it all started with the cream. And then came in a very interesting concept, and I'll end with that before tea or coffee. And that was interesting. If somebody says, if Fair and Lovely is such a powerful concept, then why not dark and handsome? Because they said European men want to be dark and handsome. They want to look darker. And there was seriously a lot of research done on this concept of dark and... So now you bring in the women together. So what I want to end here at this session, before we come to the next one later, is this power behind how creations of the human mind come in, how these are converted, how do you realize the benefits of whatever they are, of at least the 4 tools we talked about. We'll talk about the other tools as we come back. But how you use a combination of these 4 tools, and these 4 tools actually control all the billions and billions and billions of dollars for trade across the world. Okay? So what we'll do is, as we come back from this break, we will then take it on to the other tools of IPR, and then we'll go to the next. Okay?